is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break!
With Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Sunday, August 1st, 2021, Season 17, Episode number 6. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We're live from Oxnard, California. It is day 11 of Training Camp 2021, presented by American Airlines. Got Dave and Nick with me, and we got 45 minutes of Cowboys talk here with you guys today. The schedule for the day, we got the show here at 9, at 10 a.m. We've got Coach McCarthy. He will have his daily presser, and at 11 o'clock, the team will take the field for their practice for today. It will be, I guess, the next practice they will have will be on Tuesday. And this is the week that it starts to get a little bit wonky because games start this week. Cowboys will be traveling to Canton, Ohio, to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Hall of Fame game. And don't expect to see a lot of starters, I don't think, for either team, in my opinion. But we'll see how it goes. It'll be good for some of those younger guys, second, third team guys, to get in there. We'll talk a little bit more about that on our Tuesday show. About some of the things you guys may be looking for. But 7 practices are done. You got 6 more to go. And let's start first by giving an injury update. Dave, why don't you tell me, looking at this team, what are some of the injuries? We got Tyron Smith, Jordan Lewis, Kelvin Joseph. Tell me where they are. Some came back to practice. Some are still not practicing fully. Where are we?
Yeah, it's tricky because at this time of the year, at this point at camp, like, guys are sitting out for all kinds of reasons, some not, most really not necessarily serious. You know, Tyron has been out, quote unquote, for 2 days with elbow tendonitis, but he was out there in full pads and did the compete period reps and did some individual stuff. So, you know, is he hurt or is he Tyron Smith and they just don't want to overwork him? Same thing goes for Zach Martin. You know, somebody on the fence line yesterday was like, Dave, what's wrong with Zach? He's missed 2 days. Is he okay? And I was like, he's getting in the huddle right now. He's fine.
I didn't know you were giving people personal injury reports.
Yeah,
on the sideline,
absolutely.
but you did.
No, come find me in Oxnard, and I'll let you know. Jordan Lewis mixed back in yesterday. Kelvin Joseph mixed back in yesterday. I haven't seen Bradley and I return. Am I forgetting anybody big, Nick? That's
love in the tub.
These are, well, I mean, a knife for sure. I mean,
that's
Brad
Ball, maybe
Josh Ball did leave practice. McCarthy will probably update that today. But I don't get the impression that it's something crazy severe, and that really goes for almost all of these. Like somebody like Bradley and I needs to get on the field because he needs to be making an impression and be available for preseason games. But by and large, these are all just more knocks and bumps than serious injuries.
All right, let's get some of our observations rolling. Nick, give me an observation from yesterday's practice.
Well, I mean, I thought that the quarterbacks responded a little bit better yesterday. I thought you know, from now we kind of get an idea. Okay, you know, Dak's not throwing for a couple days, and who knows how far that extends into. But I thought Garrett Gilbert settled down a little bit. I thought Cooper Rush had his best practice, if you will. I mean, I think he's kind of the forgotten guy in this whole rotation, but you know, he's actually been a backup to Dak Prescott for a few years and kind of understands the quarterback room and a relationship with him. So I thought the quarterbacks responded and had a better day.
They did, but that's the fun thing about training camp is the play doesn't end when you get sacked, you know. And I thought the defensive line was impressive yesterday. You know, Tyron Smith didn't do a ton. Zach Martin was mixing in and out, didn't do a ton. Connor McGovern's getting reps. Connor Williams is playing center and guard. Tyler Biotish is running with the ones, but also letting Connor Williams do it. And I thought, you know, Randy Gregory was teeing off on people. Dorrance Armstrong was teeing off on people. Oso Digizua had a couple really impressive reps, as did Quentin Bohanna, I believe. Like, it just seemed like they were getting to the quarterback, and the quarterbacks were making really, like, Cooper Rush made an amazing throw yesterday, but how many of those reps came after they would have been sacked in a live situation?
And that's the thing, you know, with Gilbert, Cooper Rush, they're not the most agile quarterbacks. Dak obviously is and is very strong. One thing I hate, it really annoys me, is when defensive players, especially on the pass rush, get off the line and whatever and touch the quarterback's waist, and then they're like, sack. Woo. Well, we've seen guys for years. I mean, I've seen if that's the case, then D-Law would have 36. I mean, like they in a season,
Anthony
like
Spencer would have
right. Spencer, Ebenezer Ekubon. I mean, would be in the Ring of Honor for sure. But like that doesn't have it doesn't. They move up in the pocket.
That's a good point.
And so I get it. For a defensive guy, it's like, well, what do you want me to do? You want me to hit the guy in this red jersey? I
I'd
can't
love
do that.
to.
So there's this fine line, but a lot of time we see these defensive guys are like, sack, I would have made the play.
That's a good point. I mean,
little corner comes up to Zeke and was like, I got you. No, he probably would have trucked you.
Getting there doesn't mean that you necessarily won the rep, but
They're getting there.
They were getting there.
And it stops the drill, or at least it halts the drill a little bit.
And we have also talked about the fact that pressures can be just as important as sacks in a lot of instances, and so that would be in that instance pressure.
Sure.
Talk to me a little bit about the offensive line because, Dave, you mentioned that you got all these guys on the offensive line that are kind of moving in and out, some getting reps with certain teams and that kind of thing. One thing we've heard from coaches over as long as I've been covering the Cowboys is, you kind of want to find that continuity with your offensive line. And you want those guys to work together. That first unit, you want them to work together as much as possible to create that continuity. But what we're seeing in this camp flies in the face of that a bit because they're moving guys around. You trying to get a little help. And I think there's some value in that in seeing, like, can this guy play at this position with the ones or whatever. Talk to me about how you rectify that in your mind of continuity versus trying to give guys opportunities to see what they can do in different positions.
I asked McCarthy that the other day, and I didn't feel like he gave me a very good answer because I don't even remember what he said, so it couldn't have been that memorable. But I'm with you, like, and you want to be trying as many combinations and seeing what works and who can play and who can't. But like, it's important to have offense and defense. Like,
and they didn't play together most of last year.
Which I wonder if maybe they're scarred by what happened last year. Like, let's get as many guys as reps as possible in case this happens again. But I agree. Like, continuity is important. Knowing the tendencies and the particulars of the guy next to you is important. And they've been mixing and matching a lot, even by training camp standards this year. But I will, it's still, I guess we're into the second week now, but like they haven't played a preseason game. I feel like the first 10 to 12 days of training camp is, they're not done installing. Like today's the final install. And I feel like you'll probably, the further and further we go, especially like when we get back to Frisco, that's when you kind of settle in and you're like, all right, these are the guys that we're counting on. Whereas right now, I think you got a little more freedom to experiment.
And frankly, that's at every position right now. You could see there. I don't think there is a position on the field where you don't see guys working with the first team that aren't probably going to be on the first team. They've got things all over the place at every position, right?
Yeah, and that's a good thing to do because that's what happens in the season, like we saw last year. And so, offensive line, I think, is the one group where you do want that continuity. Other than that, I think Luke Gifford has to go in there and play next to Leighton Vander Esch or play next to Jalen. D-line, same thing. You never know what happens. And that's a great way to evaluate a young corner, a Reggie Robinson or somebody all of a sudden is running with some ones. It's like he doesn't look that much different than the other guys, or he looks way different,
Yeah, it's most important on the offensive line, but I still think you want guys who know each other working. You want your safety to kind of know his cornerback. Defensive linemen, like knowing how to run twists and stunts and all of the fun games that they do and kind of feeling each other out. I think that's important, which if they're still rotating this much when we get back to Frisco, I think that'll be weird. And I would even say I would be alarmed by that. But out here, whatever.
Unless they plan to get into the season, and that's how they're going to play. They're going to constantly be rotating guys, which, again, will be a different thing than we've seen. You've seen that in some positions, but not at all positions. If that's their plan, then, because I do get the impression that linebacker, we might see that. We might see a lot of shuffling of guys in and out.
And my line, 3 to play 2 at linebacker, but, like, this defense feels like it's going to be 15 to play 11. There's going to be, And defense doesn't bother me as much, but like the offensive line in particular, and I get it. Connor Williams needs reps if he's going to be the second string center. Joe Looney is a New York Giant
just about to
now.
throw that out
I
there.
guess we should bring that up. So we've been sitting here. We were joking. Kellen Moore, like 2 days ago, said Joe's not with us right now, and we were like, "Are you saying
now?
he might be?"
Right now?
So I guess that's not going to happen. So I get it. Guys need the reps, but I would like to see a little more continuity as we get closer to the real stuff.
All right, so talking about the quarterbacks, I want you guys to, based upon what you've seen so far, obviously we know Dak is the starter, put them in order of the way you think they should be. Not the way they are right now or the way you think coaches view them. Based on what you've seen, how would you order that second through fourth quarterback? Nick?
Gilbert, Rush, DiNucci. But that doesn't mean those are your three.
Yep.
Because if I think to keep on the, I think Gilbert would be your number two. I think you cut the other two, and I think DiNucci's the one I keep on the practice squad.
Yeah, I think I agree with
But I don't think I'm sorry to cut you off, but I just don't think that if you had to play in a game, I would play Rush over DiNucci.
I think I agree with that, although, like, Rush looked good yesterday, but has he looked good any other
he
day?
hasn't.
Yeah, I think it might be a little bit of recency bias.
Was it also because maybe he's getting more reps now and he's working in a little
True,
bit more?
yeah, for sure. And he had back tightness, so he missed 2 days of practice. That might be why, but like DiNucci doesn't look terrible, but it can be spotty. I mean, for a lot of reasons. Like the play breaks down a lot when he's in there. There's some accuracy issues. He has trouble getting it over the defensive line sometimes if he is in the pocket. So it's not awful, but it's very spotty.
He's a scout team type of quarterback, though.
Yeah.
That's why. I mean, he's
got a
athletic,
yeah.
and he, I'm not saying he'll be, hey, you're playing Arizona, you're Kyler Murray. I'm not saying he could do that, but there's not many that on the team that can. But he gives you a little bit more of a mobility type guy, and
I think it's easy for me to imagine DiNucci being on the practice squad, whereas I think if Cooper gets cut at the end of this camp, I think that's probably it.
for his career.
For his career here, at least. I don't know. I mean, he's been in the league since 2017.
Played like
He's gotten into like 2 games, both of which were like well over with by the time he got in there. And his Jason Garrett, his coach who brought him in as an undrafted free agent and loves him, let him go from New York.
yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe not, but it's easier for me to imagine DiNucci being here than Cooper Rush.
But when that waiver wire hit the first time that a bunch of quarterbacks hit the waiver wire, all of them are going to be evaluated against them, Gilbert included. And the biggest thing there is just availability to learn the offense and play. Like, do you want to get this guy? Is he better than Gilbert? Yeah, he might be, but he doesn't know this offense right now. And so, it'll be interesting to see what that happens. They've tried to find guys, and they haven't yet.
Blake Bortles would be here if anybody gave a damn about my opinion, but they don't.
Over the last few days, have you seen anything since he's been running with the ones? Have you seen anything from Garrett Gilbert that gives you more confidence than you had maybe before camp began that let's assume that Dak is down for 4 games, that he could at least get you to a 500 record in that time that Dak's out?
I think my opinion of him is exactly the same.
Yeah, me
which is
too.
like, I don't feel great about it, but I don't feel awful. Like he doesn't look lost out there. It's easy to forget because he's only started 1 NFL game, which was last year. He didn't
look horrible in that game, though.
No, he didn't. No, but he's been playing pro football for a long time. I mean, he left. He got out of college and he was 20. He was on the Patriots Super Bowl team that beat the Seahawks. That's how long he's been playing pro football, and he was like the MVP of the Alliance of American Football for however many weeks that lasted. Like he was great in that league, and he was Baker Mayfield's backup for a year. So he shouldn't be lost out there, and he definitely isn't, especially having had a year to get acclimated and understand the offense. So, he's not dicing the defense up by any means, but he doesn't look awful. So it's just I feel the same.
Yeah, I saw him yesterday in practice. There was a couple throws I saw him make. I was like, oh, wow. And then there was one play where I think it was Cedric Wilson was in the end zone and by himself, and he just completely overthrew him. And and those are the moments where it's like, you're like, I want to give him the benefit. I want to say he'll be fine. And then you have those moments where you're like, you can't miss that kind of throw, right?
He had a game winner in the 2-minute, last play of the game. They're down by 6. he hit Cedric on a post for the game-winning score, and I was impressed and kind of juiced up, and then I went back and looked at my phone's video, and Cedric was matched up on Micah Parsons, which, that's the defense's fault, but kind of a pitching.
And Micah, Micah's been
catch.
okay. He's been okay,
He
but
shouldn't be
he's
covering
not.
Cedric
Shouldn't be
Wilson.
covering him downfield, right?
Hey, they got him into a bad matchup. Good for them, but
Yeah.
it was kind of less impressive when I realized. I was like, oh yeah, well you should be able to find him if he's going against a linebacker.
All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, I'm going to talk defense. We're going to focus in on the defense. I went and identified 4 areas of defensive play that I think are most representative of good defenses. Those that do well in these categories tend to be good defenses and tend to be on good teams. And we're going to talk about those and talk about where the Cowboys rank in those areas and where we think the Cowboys may be able to get better in some of these areas, or if they can get better in some of these areas heading into the 2021 season. We'll be right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man's Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way. Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
Back to the break.
Have you got the gear you need for training camp 2021? You can score classics like your favorite player jerseys, tees, and hats, plus exclusive collections and unique accessories. The Pro Shop has more Cowboys gear than anyone in the game. Visit your local Dallas Cowboys Pro Shop or online at shopdallascowboys.com.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break, live from the Oxnard, California. We are talking about defense now. We're going to jump into this conversation on defense. What I want to do is there are 4 different areas that I've identified as the key indicators of good defense in the NFL. Let's start first with stopping the run defense. Last year, the top 5 run defenses in the league, all of them won at least 10 games. Dallas, guys want to guess where Dallas was ranked?
31st.
31st.
158.9 yards per game, I believe.
Exactly. Question for you guys. How much of a problem was it for this team, and what are they counting on this year in order to be better than they were last year?
It was fine. They won 6 games. It's fine. Just kidding.
Well, there are a lot of things that could be a part of that, but how much of a problem was that in the context of all the other things that were going wrong?
I mean, it's the Garrett says it. It's line 1 in anything. Pro, college, high school, junior high, stop the run. Or stop the run. That's the teams are going to try to run the ball. And if you can't do it, then that means that you're not physically strong enough to handle it, in the trenches. It doesn't matter if you got these fast guys around the edge that can get sacks. If they can't hold up and block, that's why a 6A high school team is going to beat a 1A team every time. They got bigger guys up front, and they're going to dominate you on the line of scrimmage. And it's same with the NFL.
It's a passing league, and I love the analytics side of football and throw it, and early and often. I get it. I'm down with that. But we learned last year If you can't stop the run, and everybody knows you can't stop the run, that's almost all that matters. Like, you're so screwed. I mean, they were so bad. Two different 300-yard rushing performances. I mean, we said it all last year. Like, high school defenses handled the fundamentals of stopping the run better than the Dallas Cowboys did last year. That's not an exaggeration. And, I mean, you can't win. You cannot win if the other team just knows that they can run it down your throat whenever they want to.
And I think they faced 4 of the top 5 backs in the league this year. I mean, I know Derrick Henry, put him in there and whatever.
They got Kamara. They got Saquon twice. Dalvin Cook again.
McCaffrey's not bad.
McCaffrey's pretty damn good.
Not bad. That's good to put it.
Hey, if the playoff version of Leonard Fournette shows up on night number
true.
1, that's going to be a
whoever's
problem.
running. Yeah, I mean the way that they run the ball. I mean, it doesn't matter who it is. I mean, Jones as the other guy. But both
of them are good.
They're efficient enough that they're going to run it, and you got to stop the Clyde
Edwards-Helaire.
I mean,
you don't want to go through the whole thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Maurice Jones-Drew. Yeah, it's your guy. It's your guy
forever. But I mean, like, and I get my point is it's
Jacobs,
easy.
Raiders.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think about him, but yeah, he is good.
It's easy to overlook that because most NFL teams are at least decent at it. I mean, the Cowboys have not had any elite defense in the entire time that I've worked here. But more often than not, you're not going into the game like really. You're like, I mean, they might be able to run the ball, but it's not going to be crazy. I mean, last year I've never seen anything like it. It was unbelievable, and so. The bad part is you're not going to have a winning record playing defense like that. But the good part is it shouldn't be that hard to improve from that. I mean, that's how bad it was. And that, you can see the blueprint in front of you. They bolstered the linebacker crew, and the defensive line is enormous compared to what we've been used to. I mean, Rod Marinelli loved those. Think about the guys that played defensive line for this team over the last 5 years. Like, he loves the undersized 3 techniques, but, awesome, fun guy, underrated player maybe, but Antoine Woods was tiny by defensive lineman standards. That is not the case here. I wrote a note about it yesterday. I mean, Bohana's 6'4", 330. Brent Urban's 6'7", 310. Carlos Watkins is 6'4", 310, something like. I mean, these guys are enormous, and they're long too. And so putting that much beef in front of these linebackers and hoping that cleans them up to make more plays. I mean, it's pretty obvious what they're trying to do.
Think it'll work? You think they'll be better stop and run this year?
I do.
It will work in the sense, like they will be better. They will not give up 160 yards per game. I refuse to. Like, Dan Quinn's been doing this for too long, and I know his defenses weren't amazing in Atlanta, but they're going back to something these guys are more familiar with, and I think they have a little bit more talent. I'm not saying they're going to be top 10, but they have to be better. There's no way they can be worse.
Definitely. I think the scheme will be there. I think they'll play more downhill. They'll put the linebackers will be closer. I think you got physical players now. You got physical safeties. I do think that they're going to be a better run stopping team. And I think that's important when you look at the quarterbacks that they face this year. They face better running backs than they face quarterbacks. And I know that they face the top 2 in the league and the 2 that were in the Super Bowl. Yeah. But after that, there's a considerable drop-off. You have quarterbacks that are good. They don't necessarily scare you all the time. Not as much as the running backs. I think stopping the run's way more important.
Yeah, you made that point to me the other day, and I had to take a second and think about it because you immediately think the top 2 quarterbacks in the league, arguably, that you got during this season, and you don't think about all the rest, and you're like, yeah, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are pretty good. There are a lot of quarterbacks that you even think are ascending.
I don't think you don't face another top 8 quarterback, and I say 8 because even though 10 is what people like to say, I think 8 is, if you ask people the top 8 quarterbacks in the league, I think you wouldn't get a lot of different answers. I think after 8 is where it starts to get a little different. And they don't face any other top 8 except for Brady and Mahomes, which is big.
And they have a top 8, so in all but 2 games, you probably give the Cowboys
the quarterback.
Oh, they face the top 8 in Dak. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So in 15 of the 17. You'll feel pretty confident that the Cowboys have the better quarterback.
Yeah. Dave
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Dave and I were talking about that. I think when you're ranking quarterbacks, I think there's 4 at the top because we judge them by winning Super Bowls, and 4 of them have won, and they're playing at a high level. I don't judge Roethlisberger anymore like that. He's on the down slope. But after Rodgers, Wilson, Mahomes, and Brady, and not in that order, but those four. And then you got another four guys that are just right there that are just, if they have a big year, they jump into it.
They get a little help from their teams,
Dak.
Dak, Jackson, Allen,
Lamar
and then
Jackson, Allen.
We don't know even what to do with
Watson.
Deshaun Watson right now.
But
he should be in that list if he's playing.
If he's playing,
and then you got veteran guys, Matt Ryan, which the Cowboys do face.
Yeah, and then you got those ascending guys. Like, you don't know what's going to happen with the guy. Yeah, with guys like Baker, with guys like Kyler Murray, with guys like,
right
there's a lot of those guys that are kind of right there on that cusp of taking that next step. We'll see if they do it this year or not.
But the thing about Kyler Murray, and then I think on our list when we rank top 10 quarterbacks on the schedule, we put Dak third because he's obviously in the game. I think Murray was fourth. I have to go back and look. Justin Herbert might have jumped.
Herbert is another guy that could have a really great year. Yeah.
But the thing about Murray is that he dominated the Cowboys in that game because they couldn't stop him. They couldn't get him on the ground.
We had Murray fourth.
I don't. Who else?
I mean, we're getting off the rails
Matt
here
Ryan?
a little bit. Is Stafford on the schedule this year? The Rams aren't on the schedule this year. Okay.
Cousins?
Yeah,
He wouldn't be up
I would
there
take I would take Murray over both of those guys.
Williams over there. William. Or rank him.
Well,
he's busy.
All right, let's move on to the next
topic. We're in the weeds right now.
Let's go on to the next area on defense that I identified. Sacks. 3 of the top 5 in the NFL had 10 wins or more. Dallas was tied for 20th last year. How important are sacks for a defense to be successful?
Yeah.
And the reason for the pause is like we've gone, this is the argument we've used to defend Tank for 2 years, is like there's way more to it than whether or not you're getting him on the ground. Pressures are important, moving him off his spot, forcing bad throws. So, the pure number of sacks maybe doesn't define how good you are if you're getting there. But if you're top 5, 6 in the league in sacks, your defense is probably pretty good. I guess maybe I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth there. Like, I think you can be good without them, but it's nice to have them, I guess.
Well, yeah, it's the difference of getting into the red zone and getting a field goal or getting a touchdown. I mean, it's nice to be moving the ball. It's nice to be able to get pressure and do that, but at some point you need to actually get the guy on the ground. That gets them off the field, and a lot of times it causes a fumble as well. It pushes it back even more. It's fourth down. It's fourth and probably 14, 15 field position as well. It could be 3rd and 5, and you rush the quarterback, he throws it away, and it's 4th and 5. You got to still worry about a fake punt and all that. You drop him for an 8-yard loss, and maybe he's hurt, maybe he fumbled. That pushes him back even more. I mean, so yeah, it's a big difference in the play, and it's just a good play versus a great play, and I think that's what makes you have an elite team. You got to get to the quarterback.
How many they have last year? Did you look that up?
I did, but I don't have it on.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
silly me.
Here's another question though. But how much does Randy Gregory improve the pass rush over Alden Smith, and in what ways?
I saw you put that on there when you sent us the rundown, and like, can we answer that? Can we truly answer that?
I don't know.
Right now?
You tell me.
Like, I love Randy, and I'm so excited for what isn't. But he said it yesterday. He was like, a lot of people are talking about how awesome I am, and I don't feel like I've proved a whole lot. And as much as I'm rooting for him, he's kind of right. I mean, he's had like one season that, not even his rookie year, because he twisted his ankle his rookie year. Like, he's had one season where he played more than 12 games, I think. And, like, it was a solid season. He had 5 or 6 sacks, and I think he's a better run defender than he gets credit for. And to be, Alden Smith was kind of similar last year, coming off of a 5-year absence from playing pro football. So I don't know how big of an improvement he is right now.
Was there an appreciable difference because in the first half of the season, Alden Smith was probably getting more opportunities,
right? And Randy started taking
them
away.
Second half, he started. So did you see an appreciable difference between the first half with Alden and the second half with Randy?
No. Not really, but I mean, I don't think Alden Smith really had that great of a season. I don't. I think he
wore
down. A few good games early.
He had 3 sacks in the Seattle game. Yeah. One of them he touched Wilson when he fell, and that's a sack.
Yeah,
counts. I mean, this team needs it, but I don't think it wasn't like just D. Ware just taking over a game.
He finished with 5.5, I think, right? So and 4. I think 4 of those came in the first month of the season.
Very early. Yeah, he wore down a little bit, and Gregory took some of his snaps. I think his story was, we remembered was like, wow, just being here is awesome. But it wasn't the impact that Robert Quinn made on the other side from 2 years ago, and that's something that was not replaced last year. And that's where they need to get to.
I'll take Randy's potential.
No doubt.
I'll take that 10 times out of 10, but I'm not ready to say, at the end of the day, he's still got to prove it.
All right, we're going to take our final break. When we come back, we're going to talk about points allowed. We're going to talk about takeaways. Takeaways being a big topic of conversation for this coaching staff and an emphasis for them. We'll talk about when they come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. Before you can park yourself in front of the game, park yourself in a John Deere and power through your chores. Our Land Run package is a 1025R, 25 horsepower tractor with a loader, rotary cutter, and a box blade for $229 a month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay, no surprises. So don't miss another kickoff.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now let's get to work.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar. And a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man's Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
Back to the break.
Don't miss your chance to see a Cowboys game at AT&T Stadium this season. Limited number of single-game, standing-room-only tickets are on sale now. Get yours today at DallasCowboys.com/tickets.
All right, we're back. It's the final segment of the break, live from Oxnard, California. We're at the 2021 Cowboys training camp. Remember, there will be a practice today at 11 a.m. Pacific time, so if you're in the area and want to come out, you might want to get here early because
Yesterday was insane.
There's been a lot of people coming
Bring
out,
some
and there is a
cash.
cap on the number of people that are allowed in. So make sure you come out early if you want to make sure you get in. And by the way, parking $40 for people that might be figuring that out. Don't want you to get out here and not have your money ready.
Get
So
some cash.
Let's get back to it. We're talking about defense. The next category I want to talk about is points allowed. In my opinion, this is the most important. And in my opinion, it should be what should be used as the, when you talk about total defense, when you talk about the best defense in the league, right now they use actual yards. I think points allowed is a better indicator just because at the end of the day, that's kind of the point of it. You give up less points, you win the game. But either way, last year, 5 of the top 6 had 10 or more wins in points allowed. 18 to 21 points per game is what those teams were giving up. Dallas was 28th, giving up 29.6, almost 30 points per game. What was the biggest reason for the Cowboys giving up so many points last year?
They sucked. Is that too
Such
simple?
great analysis by our own Dave Hellman.
Did you watch the games?
Yes,
did
yes.
you see?
I did
you
watch.
see the receipt? I'll know, like the Arizona game. I mean, well, I could think of 18 different moments, like obviously the Cleveland game, but like Arizona, just Christian Kirk, just 18 yards behind the nearest DB. I think Kyler Murray only completed 9 passes in that game, but he threw for like 280 and 2 touchdowns or something stupid like that. That's the number of like untouched touchdowns that happened last year was pathetic.
So do you think that was the biggest problem with this defense? That's the question. That was the biggest problem. Okay.
Well, yeah.
Just real quick. Any success that this defense had during the Rod era was because they didn't do that. They didn't. I mean, obviously over the course of 8 years they did, but by and large they didn't allow the 40, 50, 60-yard bust. They made you drive down the field and, death by paper cut and buckle down and try to force a field goal. And it, 2018, it worked, and it worked 3 out of the 8 years that Rod was here. And last year, no. Oh my God. I mean, I've never seen so many not just touchdowns, but bust touchdowns, just giving free points to the defense.
Couldn't stop the run, couldn't stop the big play. They didn't really stop much of anything.
No. It's not that hard to analyze why they were bad. That's what I like. That's why they sucked is good analysis, because it was unlike anything I've ever seen.
Nick, I'm sorry.
The same. They couldn't give up big plays. Seattle game's the one for me because they couldn't stop them. And even when though Dak got them back in that game and they fought back into it, they were never going to stop Russell Wilson. Ever. 4th down, they have a chance to get off the field, and they can't do it. Whether it's Lockett, whether it was Metcalf, whether it was Wilson himself. I mean, that was a game I just was like, you can be in this. You feel like you're in it, but you're really not. And you're not going to win it because you can't get off the field, and you certainly can't give up the big plays. I mean, the safety position, that's why everybody other than George Teague and Darren Woodson have been signed here this offseason because they got to fix that. Xavier Woods he wasn't a good football player last year at all. And 6th round pick, and let's see if he develops into something. And I think he had a good rookie year, but I think it got worse and worse for him. I saw bad angles. He wasn't the only guy. Diggs, we love the arrow going up for him, but man, he struggled.
He gave up a lot, yeah.
And just you throw Kelvin Joseph out there, he's going to struggle too. That's what rookies are. They do. I mean, it's going to be tough, but you hope you kind of surround them with some other players. I think Anthony Brown is having a pretty solid camp. He makes some good plays here. He's just a solid player. He's not the guy that people want to be the starter here, and all that. They want somebody that's more flashy, but he's solid.
He's going to be hard to take out of the starting lineup when you consider that, and then the versatility to do 2 different jobs. Yeah, I expect him to start at least at the outset of the season.
All right, let's move on to takeaways. Dallas tied for 7th, something I thought was kind of interesting. I didn't even remember that with 23 takeaways. Most of that came in the second half of the season. There were 5 games where they had 2 or more takeaways last year, and they won 4 of the 5. Takeaways, very important stat, I think, from the standpoint of overall winning. My question for you is, why were they so much better in the second half, do you think, than the first half?
Quarterbacks that they faced were not very good. I think that's a big part of it. I don't think any of those quarterbacks, I'd love to see those 4 of those 5 games, but I'm going to guess Nick Mullins, Jalen Hurts, Daniel Jones,
Brandon Allen.
And
then the big one, which I love to say because it's Carson Wentz. They had 4 on him, right?
Yeah.
But they
Alex Smith.
They lost that game, though, right?
Yeah, they still got 4
that was the
however many they had. Yeah. So, but Carson Wentz was awful last year. He was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. So
and he's hurt right now.
Yeah. So I mean, you don't think of him in the same vein as a Brandon Allen or a Nick Mullins because of where he was drafted, but he was terrible, and they got a lot of takeaways. So
I mean, Lamar Jackson played in down the stretch. I think he threw a pick to him as well. Now he also
Anthony Brown.
Yeah. He ran all over the place.
Well,
too,
sure.
So. But yeah, I mean, I thought the second half of the season, I thought it was quarterback play was part of it. I mean, they were more aggressive, and Donovan Wilson was really coming into his own more. Yeah. He was a part of those. So D-Law was playing well too. Let's don't just put it all on the quarterback. D-Law, I thought, was playing very well down the stretch, and that he helped some of those turnovers. He forced a fumble against 49ers, I believe, and so yeah, I think it was just a combination of playing teams that weren't as good, playing quarterbacks that really weren't that good, and then also kind of getting after their ass a little bit more.
It was Darian Thompson that picked off Jackson. I'm sorry, my memory's not as good as it used to be.
Tipped up in the air.
So if you guys are going to pick one of these areas where you feel certain the Cowboys will be better, that's either run defense, sacks, points allowed, or takeaways, which is it?
Run defense. And I'm sorry if that's not bold, but it's the easiest thing to fix. It's 160 yards a game.
Yeah.
And they've done a lot. They've done a lot. They drafted Parsons. They drafted Osa. and Golston. I know he's not practicing, whatever. They all, like, most of their primary free agency acquisitions were defensive tackles. Gallimore is one of the big exciting names at this camp. And then, you've got a great run defender in Tank. Yeah, I think they'll be significantly better. And again, I'm not saying top 10, but I think they could crack the top 20, maybe. Maybe that's too ambitious, but I think they can.
I think they'll be better in sacks. I think they will be top 10 in the league in sacks. I think that's what Dan Quinn prides himself on. I think with the way Micah Parsons is going to be blitzing, the way Jalen Smith is going to be blitzing more, I just think there's going to be more of an attack to kind of get to the quarterback, even more than we've seen. I think you'll see more sacks.
That's probably something we haven't mentioned often enough, is that they are blitzing pretty frequently. But obviously Micah and Jalen are doing it, but Darian Thompson and Anthony Brown and these DBs are taking turns. I think Mukwamu and Jaron Kearse as well. They're coming out of the slot,
and that's why defense can look better in practice.
Yeah.
Because what the things you would do when people are blitzing, you can kind of change the play, gash them, pop them with the draw. Well, you run a draw here to Zeke or Pollard, and they get through the line, and they put their hand on their shoulder, and they're like, tackle. But that's not bringing Zeke down. It's not even bringing Pollard down, And they can get 15, 20 yards. It's like, well, don't blitz. Don't do that crap again. Mm-hmm. But in a practice like this, they kind of blow the whistle. They stop it, And so you can't defenses don't really get punished for blitzing as much in a practice like this, where you can really hurt them in a game. So that's why I think sometimes it's a little too early to say defense won, and you can make the same case for the offense too, that the offense sits there for 8 seconds and throws and stuff like that. So it's a great evaluation. It's great to be out here, but sometimes there's holes in the evaluation.
All right, let's move on. I wanted to, real quick before we end the show, I have a few players I want to throw out in our I Get Around segment. Basically, the object here is I'm going to throw out a name. You guys are going to talk about that player a little bit, give people insight on what you've seen from them, what your thoughts are on them throughout this first portion of training camp. Let's move to Israel Mukwamu, who is a rookie safety, 6th-round draft pick out of South Carolina. Dave, go.
I like him. I think the odds are really stacked against him, I think, just because of where he was drafted and how many DBs are in this secondary. But, when him and Nashawn Wright are standing next to each other, it's like freaking California redwood forest or something. They're so tall and so long. But he seems like he's got a knack for being where the ball is. Like, he's had a couple picks in practice. He's jumped a couple routes. And when he hasn't, he's at least gotten his hands on it. I'm positive he's a rookie. I'm sure he's made plenty of mistakes. He's not perfect, but he's disruptive and versatile, because he played corner in college, and I haven't seen him play outside at camp, but they've brought him down into the slot. They've blitzed him from there, but they've played him in coverage there as well. So he's been fun to watch. Like I said, I don't feel good about his chances of being on the team, just not because of anything against him, but just there's so many veteran bodies in front of him. But I think he's looked good.
Yeah, I think a year from now we're going to talk about Mukwamu as playing 2 games in 2021 and 15 inactives. On the team, inactive most of the time.
You think they can get him? They'll have him on practice squad,
No.
Or you think he's going to make the active roster?
He makes the team. He's inactive. They can't get him to the games. That's what I think.
Although, and this is cheating, and the 53 is what matters. But the rules are going to be similar, I think. They haven't ironed it all out in terms of can you move guys off the practice squad the day of the game? I don't know, but the practice squad is going to be 15 players. We should know by now that the vast majority of their cuts are going to clear waivers. Almost nobody ever gets claimed. So even if he gets cut, I think he's got a great opportunity to be here. He will be here even if he gets cut, he'll be here as long as he doesn't get claimed by somebody else. I definitely think that.
All right, let's get one more player here. Justin Hamilton, 4th year defensive tackle. He was a 2020 free agent that the Cowboys signed. Go, Nick.
Not been impressive to me. Can't remember a lot of plays other than getting thrown by Isaac Alarcon, and that's not a great thing. So he's still learning how to play football. So he kind of threw him around the other day. I was in a drill. Surprised to see that. I think Bohanna is better. I think when you look at Watkins, Urban, Odigizua, I think Tristan Hill will come back. I think when you talk about training camp bodies, that's what Justin Hamilton is. He's been around for a long time. He understands the business a little bit. He's a big guy, but I don't think his chances of making the team are very high at all.
I don't disagree with you, except for the fact that the defensive coordinator shouted him out by name the other day, and that maybe that's an element of what they see in the meetings is a lot different. Because I mean, he's a big fatty. His job is to clog things up and make life difficult for everybody else. So that doesn't translate to what we see. And I'm not talking trash on you because I haven't seen him do anything either.
But
Dan Quinn was like, I knew that Urban and Watkins, I knew what they could do, but, you get out here and you see Hamilton's, stuffing things up and blocking the run. So if the defensive coordinator brings you up without being prompted at a press conference, that's definitely a good thing.
Yeah.
So,
and the other thing to note is yesterday I noticed he was out there running with the ones. Again, that happens right now. You can't really put anything on who's running where. I do think, though, it is worth noting that he's getting opportunities. That's the point. He is getting opportunities, and we'll see where that all lands.
He has a game that does not translate to the way that we watch practice. Like if we could sit down in their meeting rooms and watch the zoom in on the lines and see how he's doing.
Watching film would matter.
Yeah, it might be a different story, but it just doesn't translate to watching.
One thing about defensive tackle, when you look at other positions and you think preseason games, who's going to get in there? What are the starters going to play? Defensive tackle is one of those where the starters, even if it's a Gallimore, even if it's a Digizua, those are players that are you want to play. They need to play against Pittsburgh.
Need experience,
And so other starters are going to be kind of, they're going to be in and out, and if at all, if they're even in. But I think tackle's one where, Justin Hamilton may not get as many snaps as he would in another situation because you want to see young players get on the field more than you would in other positions.
All right, we appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back on Tuesday, and we'll start getting you guys ready for the Hall of Fame game that will be happening this Thursday night, Cowboys versus Steelers. Till then, for Nick Eatman, Dave Hellman, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!